Let's take a look. 55, find email domain. All right, what's this one asking us? So an email address such as john.smith@example.com is made up of a local part, john.smith, an @ symbol, then a domain part, example.com. The domain name part of an email address may only consist of letters, digits, hyphens, and dots. The local part, however, also allows a lot of different special characters. Here, you can look at several examples of correct and incorrect email addresses. Given a valid email address, find its domain part. So, they give a couple examples over here. Pretty simple at example.com. So what we want is the example.com, right? The domain. That's probably a website. We could probably actually go there and see what it's all about, but not gonna. Anyway, if it's something like this, which is a little more chaotic, is this an actual, like, you could do this as an email address? That sounds like not a good idea. Anyway, in this case, it's example.org that we want to give, and that's probably a website too, but I'm not gonna visit it. Anyway, the point is, we will visit this one. So, examples, valid email addresses. Yeah. Okay, so this horrendous thing here is actually a valid email address. Oh, wow. I wonder if it's somebody's email address. I wonder if we could contact this person. Anyway, we've got some invalid ones over here. So, folks, this is something I always like to say. When you're trying to find out about a new thing, okay, when you're trying to learn about a new type of object or type of thing in general, examples are really useful. Examples are one of the most useful things. I mean, I've said this before, if a picture's worth 1,000 words, an example's got to be worth at least 1,000,000. But let me add on to that. Counter examples are at least as good for understanding a concept as examples are. For example, you know, when people ask like, okay, good example. Here in Ontario, grade 12, university-bound math course, you learn about vectors. What's a vector? So there are lots of examples that people give. You know, they say like, oh, well, mass, is it a vector or a scalar? Speed, vector or scalar? Weight, vector or scalar? Temperature, vector or scalar? These kinds of things, right? It's really useful to know counter examples. It's almost, well, no, it's at least as useful as knowing examples. You want to know what your capabilities are, but you want to know what your limitations are as well. And from there, you get a better idea of the concept. So you might remember, like in maybe grade 11 or something like that, learning all these exponent laws, you know, things like, a to the power of n times a to the power of m is the same as a to the power of n plus m, and stuff like that. So there are about 9 of these that they make you memorize. For my students, I made them memorize a whole bunch of other ones as counter examples. So like, for example, if you see a to the n plus a to the m, that's not equal to a to the n plus m or anything, you know, like there's no way to simplify it. Stuff like that, right? So counter examples can really be very helpful. Okay, so that's nice to see. So in this case, we're saying, oh, invalid, no at character. In this case, we're saying, too many at characters. You can only have one of them unless it's in quotation marks. Okay, so that's a little frustrating. Maybe that's sort of the logic they want us to check for in this challenge that we're looking at, which I promise we will return to at some point. So what else? And none of the special characters in this local part are allowed outside quotation marks. Okay, good to know. Quoted strings must be dot separated or the only element making up the local part. Man, I actually didn't realize this was so nuanced. Like this, yeah, this is really a lot more intense than I was realizing. I feel like email validation is something that could get pretty tough. Yeah, anyway, so thankfully all they're asking us to do here is to return the domain. So we got a little suggestion in the chat from our guy Rainbow Sprinkles who says, hey, why don't you use dot split? Something, yeah, why don't we use dot split? Let's just do address dot split. I wonder what character we want to split this at. Maybe the at symbol, right? The thing that delineates the part that we're looking at versus the rest of this junk. Yeah, maybe that'd be a good idea. Okay, and then we'll just do, hey, we'll do at 1, right? We'll just do that, right? Because the dot split is going to turn this into an array. It's going to be an array that's separated at this value. So basically, it's going to go through and say, split that up there. So the first part is this, the second part is this. Or technically, this is the 0th part, and this is the 1th part. The first part. Yeah, that's how you say that. Anyway, so yeah, we could try this, and the part at index 1 should be the thing we're looking for, right? So could we just do it like that? Let's try running it. We'll see if it passes. Ooh, it passes 3 out of 4, but we're missing one of them. Why is that? Well, let's see. Let's take off this part and let's just see what we're getting for these dot splits. So yeah, we're getting example.com over here. What are we getting for this one? Oh, we're getting more stuff because there's more than one at symbol over here. Okay, in this case, yeah, oh, Yandex, all right, example.org. Bit of a different spelling on that one, but yeah, okay, cool. So basically the idea is no matter what's going on here, it's always the last one. I don't think we can have anything after the domain in an email address. So instead of like, you know, at 1 or something like that, we could do something like this, you know, address dot split this thing dot length, right? That, or -1 actually. It's not gonna know what I'm asking for. There we go. Yeah, that would work, right? Getting the last one. This is looking really sloppy though. So like, you know, maybe we could give this like a name like const parts is assigned the value of address dot split this thing parts at the value of parts dot length -1, something like that. But I'm thinking if it's the last one and we know that, we don't really need to like call it by name. We have tools for popping off the last one, right? So we could just do dot pop, I think. We'll see. And yeah, we can. So basically we'll just make sure this passes all these. And yeah, it does. So that's fine. Yeah, that works. Cool. Okay, so now I have another idea. Because this worked. Right, it worked for us. We can forget about it, forget it ever happened, and we'll do this in a totally different way. So I figure, hey, we're talking about strings, right? Right? We're talking about strings. We've been talking about strings for a little while, actually, so I'm surprised this didn't come up earlier. When we're talking about strings, looking for some property about them, looking for some pattern to do with strings, hey, why don't we use a regular expression? That's kind of what they're for, right? So let's use a regular expression on this one. So we've got address. What is it that we're looking for? Well, basically something like this. So const regular expression is going to be some regular expression. I could put the G flag on the end there. That's looking like a comment right now. So maybe I'll just do like, I don't know, word character, right? Word character plus. Yeah, we could do something like that. I don't think I need the the G flag on the end because there's only going to be one part that I'm looking for actually. So what's it going to be? Well, basically we want an at symbol. Now, I don't know if that's a special character, so I'll just do this. So we've got our at symbol and we've got some other stuff and then we've got the end of the string, right? Yeah. Good. Okay, so let's say return. Which way does this go? Is it regex dot match with the string, or is it the string dot match with the regex? Looks like that's the way it is. Yeah, address dot match with our regular expression. Oh, okay. Well, that's not what we're looking for. We get a null. We get a null. We get a null. We get a null. Okay, cool. So I must have done this horribly wrong. What happened? Is it... well, let's just go in here. So, okay, what do we have? We had the at symbol. So it matches the at character. Do we need that? No, okay, we don't need that. And then word character plus, right? Yeah, word character plus. And then the end of the string. Yeah, and the end of the string. Okay, cool. So... and then what are we having in here? Something like email at example.barf. Okay, so wait, why does that not work? Hold on a minute. So shouldn't that work? Yeah, position at the end of the string. Why would this not match? That's weird. Oh, I need a dot? Wait. Oh, yes, I need a dot. Right, because otherwise it's like email at thing. There we go. Yeah, okay. I need the dot. Right, because that's not a word character. Well, okay, yeah, that'd work. Why don't I just not use the word character then? Why don't I just do like just a dot, you know, just whatever. And then I guess this part here is the part that I'm trying to capture. Oh, yeah, this is not a code editor. Whoops. Okay, yeah, that's the thing I'm trying to capture. So I'll do, yeah, okay, that's better. Let's do it that way. So we'll say, we're gonna have at. We now know that we don't need to escape that. We don't need the backslash on that one. We're gonna have some kind of thing, and then we're gonna have the end of the string, and the part that we're trying to capture is this part right here, and we're gonna run this, and what we're gonna find is, yes, we are getting example.com. So really what we want to return is part 1 of this. And really there should only be one match, you know, because you might be thinking, okay, 0, but you're going to get into the same issue you had last time, right? You're going to have to pop off the last one. But I can say, well, no, there should only be one match to this thing. There's no G on this, so it's not like it's going to have multiple matches. So let's run this, and oh, okay, so it's failing this one. It's giving us a whole bunch of junk. Why is it giving us all that? Oh. Well, check it out. So there was an at symbol here, right? It's just choosing the first at symbol it can see. So, all right, that's a little frustrating. You know, maybe we could do some kind of strategy where like we cut it out, like maybe we replace all the at symbols except for this one, or like we search for the last one. Like maybe we find all the possible matches here, put our global flag on, and then just return the last one. But if you think about it, really, we could just describe this better in our regular expression. There's a better way of describing this than what we're doing right now. Because if you think about it, the reason this is not a valid domain, the reason we know that this part is not the domain, is because it's got all this other junk in it, right? So, and in particular, it has an at symbol in it. To me, that's the big warning sign, okay? So instead of like anything plus, you know, and instead of like, yeah, any character, whatever you want, just make sure there's one or more of them. Instead of that, I'm going to say it's something that's not the at symbol. Okay, so a bunch of not at symbols. That's what it took. Okay, so there we go. Yeah, we could also use that other strategy that Rainbow's suggesting, where basically we say we have an at symbol and then word characters, then a dot, then word characters, then the end of the string. I think, yeah, that'd probably work too. So let's try that. Might as well, right? So let's put a 2 on that one. We'll just copy the insides, put them up here. Hey, get in line. Consistency and indentation, so important, so important. Okay, so what do we want to do here? Yeah, so we had the at symbol, and then we'll have the end of the string. So what are we gonna have? Yeah, we're gonna have some word characters plus, then we're gonna have a dot, and then we're gonna have some more word characters plus, and then we're gonna have the end of the string. So let's try running that one, and yep, that works too. So whichever, oh, but not quite. Okay, so this one didn't pass all the hidden tests. Whew, sure is tempting to unlock them, see what's inside, and figure out why that didn't work. But I don't know, we've got only so many coins here. We worked hard for those. So yeah, I guess we could probably theorize like what the issue might be. What characters are allowed in the domain? Maybe there's like some kind of, oh, okay, this must be it. So apparently we don't need a dot. We don't need a TLD, top level domain. So like, you know, .com, .org, .ninja. We don't need apparently to include those, but it's highly discouraged. Top level domain. Yeah, anyway, the idea is that that's probably the issue. Like there's one that just doesn't have a dot in there. So could we just put a question mark on it? Would that fix the issue? Yep, that's it. Okay. Hey, look at that. This is great stuff. What a teachable moment for our like debugging cycle here, right? Because we found that there was an issue with it. We investigated, we figured out what the issue must have been. We built a fix for it. It worked. We crushed it. Okay. Nice job squashing the bug. We just submitted. I think we're good to move on from here. What do you guys think? Did anyone else want to see a different strategy or something like that? Again, I feel like I'd be just like boring you guys if we try to do something where it just runs a loop from the end and then goes until it finds an @ symbol or something like that. Like, it's a way you can do it, but I think we probably have better tools. Actually, just in light of what I've been talking about up to this point, maybe that is the best way to do it, honestly. I've heard that regular expressions are quite heavy. I don't know, like, I guess dot split probably needs to go through the whole string. So yeah, maybe that actually is the best way to do it. Let's just do one real quick. We might as well. So we'll clear that stuff. We'll paste that in. By the way, has anyone ever seen an email like that with no top level domain on it? That's kind of weird, eh? I didn't realize that was something that was possible. Let word be assigned the value of an empty string to begin with. And ultimately, word is the thing. Let's call it domain. Let's be more descriptive about it. So domain is going to start as this blank thing. And we're going to say for let I be assigned the value of, not 0. It's going to be address dot length, length -1. What's length? Oh, glad you asked. It's this constant I'm about to make. Address.length. Cool. And then from there, we'll say while I is greater than or equal to 0, and minus. And then inside the loop, we'll basically say if, or wait, const character is assigned the value of address at I. And we'll say if character is at, then break. Yeah, we'll be done with that. Ooh, yeah, okay. There's another thing I want to mention over here. Yeah, there's another thing. So, okay, what do we want to do after this? I'll mention that other thing in just a sec. Basically, what we want to say is domain plus equals character. Let's try that. Is that going to work? Nope. Okay, hopefully you guys can see what the issue is with this. I'm giving the right thing, but backwards. Looks really weird. So basically it's this right here. I'm saying domain, just concatenate the character onto the end. What I should say is domain is going to be the character with the old domain concatenated to the end of that. So good. That's another way to do it. So that'll work. Now, just one thing I wanted to mention before we finish up here. On the topic of break, something I learned that's really interesting lately is, wait, make condition in for the check for at. Wait. Condition? What do you mean? I'm not sure I understand, Rainbow. What do you mean? Something about rearranging this over here? We should do it differently or something like that? In the meantime, the thing I was going to say is there's this thing called labels. So like you could do like loop 1 is going to be this thing. And now that's the label for this loop. And we could have like, okay. Good point. Yeah, so, okay, good point. Yeah, so what Rainbow's saying is that we could just put this thing over here. We could put it up top in the condition for our loop. I thought about doing that. The reason I didn't want to, the reason I wanted to go for a break is, well, 2 reasons. Number 1, because it's going to illustrate this point over here, teachable moment. But the other thing is because notice I'm using character, right? So like I've given it this constant character, which is like, you know, the character at I. I don't really want to have to change that every time. I don't want to have to put that like up in here or something like that. Although I suppose we could. Huh. Yeah, maybe that's a way we could do it. So, would this work? Yeah, character is well, I should probably spell that right. Address at I. And then over here, I could just say character is assigned the value of address at maybe minus I. Yeah, I could do it like that. And then instead of I is greater than 0, we'll just say character is not this, right? We don't even need to check if I is greater than or equal to 0. We'll just say while the character is not that thing. And then I guess we won't need this. We won't need that. Yeah, we won't need anything except for this little thing in there. So yeah, that works. Cool. So yeah. In some ways, I think that's probably better. Yeah, that works. It looks a little like cluttered up here, I would say. Oh, the only other thing is that I do sort of prefer making character a constant if we can, but that's like a little micro optimization kind of thing. So we won't worry too much about that. Yeah, this will work. Yeah, that's fine. So the thing I wanted to mention is basically this. We can have two loops, right? Like we could have loop 1 over here and then like loop 2 over here that maybe, does something like for, I don't know, let j be assigned the value of 0, j is less than 5, j plus plus. And then basically we can do something like this. Check it out. We'll say if j is greater than 3, then I want you to break. Okay? So we could do something like this, and this, it's not going to change anything, right? This is just making it like take a longer time, right? Because it's basically running this loop, and then for every iteration of the loop, it's just doing this, where it basically says, oh, okay, well, this is going to be 0, then it's going to be 1, then it's going to be 2, then it's going to be 3, but on 3, it's going to break. So it's actually never going to make it to 4. But we're not actually doing anything in this loop. Now, what's interesting is because of these labels that we've given to our loops, this is a totally new thing I wasn't familiar with, but we can do this. Check it out. Break loop 1, so that on our first iteration, we'll get into this loop. This loop will loop all the way up to 3, and then I'll say, oh, break the entire loop, not just the inner one. So now we won't get the right answers because we're only getting one character because we're breaking out of loop 1 instead of breaking out of loop 2. We could also do like continue loop 1. So like, oh, move on to the next iteration of loop 1. And you know, that would mean like this. We could even put in like some really risky stuff down here, but this is telling us to continue to loop 1, so this is never going to actually end up being run. Okay, cool. Yeah, so that's kind of a neat thing, but definitely overkill for this problem. I just figured I'd mention it because it's kind of in the flavor of what we were trying to do. Yeah, I think that's going to be more useful for nested loops, so kind of a shame that we just cleared the labyrinth of nested loops last week, but oh well. And just to sort of clarify, because like I don't know if it's clear why I'm kind of attached to the character variable here, like why, you know, you might be thinking like, well, geez, 0, yeah, I know like character was defined down here, but like you don't need to. You could just say address at I. Well, yeah, I realize that. It's just I don't want to have to keep doing that if I don't have to. Like just my policy is I want to use a variable instead of doing a function call repeated or any kind of lookup repeated. If we can avoid repeating it and just store it in a variable, I usually like to. So that's just sort of to clarify my position on that one. But I think this is fine. I think this is good. The thing I was saying before is basically if I can use a constant, I prefer to because it allows the interpreter to make more assumptions, to basically say, well, this is not a variable that's going to be reassigned, so I don't need to hold any extra state to keep in mind that it might have a different value later. So I just think that's marginally better for complexity, but not the sort of thing that's going to make the difference overall. Okay, so I think we're all done with this one. Let's just submit that. Hopefully it works. And yeah, then we'll move on to the next one. Cool. Great. It's working. Let's get out of here. We're done. All right, we're done that one. We'll move on to the next one.